We're live anyways.
We, are we live? Is
We're
Johnny
live right now.
Five alive?
Oh, great movie.
Is it though?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Is
As a
Short
child,
Circuit.
I really enjoyed it. As a child, I really enjoyed it. I remember watching it with my mom. And when Johnny Five flies out of the spoiler alert for Short Circuit, folks, I know
Yeah,
we're
because it was
randomly live here.
1985. So good
Yeah,
luck
yeah,
to
he
you.
flies out of the back of that the van or whatever and gets destroyed. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Because you think he died. You're like, oh, he flew out there. He gets like, it's very obvious when you're an adult, but when you're a kid, it looks like this robot you've fallen in love with for like 2 hours.
Just think
just
of
died. And my mom's like, no, it's all right.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
I don't know if she was bluffing or she actually knew the outcome of the movie, but she was like, it's all right, don't worry.
But if you think about it, think of all the movies we watched as kids where the cute little thing, whether it was E.T. or Johnny Five or even Gizmo, we thought they killed them. Like you're torturing these animals or these creatures or whatever it was. The people that we're supposed to be caring about, you're torturing them. That's whoa, look at this guy. That's not healthy. That's not good for kids growing up thinking that the things that you love are just bound and destined to be tortured and murdered. It's not good. What were people thinking in the 80s, man?
Yeah, E.T. was running for his life, right? Because they were going to
they were trying to murder him. Yeah, they had people with guns chasing him. Yeah, and in Gizmo from Gremlins, they essentially like he purposely fed him after midnight and put water on him, and the things are popping out of his back, and then everything went to go kill him. It's horrible. John, people are worried about where your location is. That you're in an underground bunker somewhere.
I have to keep moving because apparently now, whenever we record,
are you, witness protection program?
Yeah. Whenever we record, it's like prime time for my kids to just run around and go nuts.
Yeah.
Like they're just chilling for the rest of. They're just like chilling for the rest of the day, and it's like, oh, now you got to make a call.
Yeah.
like I gotta put on this dragon costume. It's been sitting on the floor the whole day, but right here, right now at 8:15 or whatever, I gotta put on this dragon costume and I'm gonna breathe fire on everybody. Shout outs to everybody in the chat. What up, Scott?
But you are okay, right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
So for those who are listening on the audio version and not watching the podcast right now, John is in a very nondescript gray room. There's no windows. There's no posters. There doesn't appear to be a desk. There might not even be a door. We don't really know.
Switch.
There's a light switch, and that's it. And John is in the void. So that's what we are talking about. But I do want to say hello to my friend John, and I'm glad he's doing well. And I want to say hello to everybody out there who has tuned in for tonight's Heroes World Sidekick podcast, where we are going back in time, in the way back time machine to 2002, John. And we are watching what?
We're watching what else came out this year? We are watching Rush Hour 2. Are we watching Rush Hour 2?
We are not going to watch Rush Hour 2. No.
Oh, are we going to watch The Minority Report?
We might watch Minority Report, but that's not what we're watching tonight, John.
I do quite enjoy Minority. Are we going to watch Die Another Day? Is that your favorite Bond movie? Die Another Day?
No, it is not.
During the movie, does he actually say the phrase as he goes, "I'm gonna die another day," or do they work it into the dialogue in the movie?
It's the theme song that Madonna sings, and actually, that movie was the end of Pierce Brosnan's run, but that is actually our friend Andre's favorite Bond movie.
Yeah,
make that what you will. But no, we're not watching Die Another Day, John. We are watching what now?
We're watching Does Whatever a Spider Can.
That's right.
And we're watching the hero that's gonna save us. And
look at you.
Rob's got a couple bars for us because I can't play the song because of copyright issues, but Rob knows this song by heart. So sit for back, folks, relax for the next 2 minutes. We are gonna be serenaded by Rob doing his best Chad Kroger
and Josie Scott.
The song that you love to hate to hear on the radio. We're gonna be doing. I think you should sing it 3 times in a row, probably, just to make sure we remember this song. And we're gonna go. Let's go, hero.
I'm so high, I can heal heaven.
You should have got a long curly wig.
No,
Do you think the downfall of Nickelback was the fact that he had the long curly blonde hair? Like if he shaved it, do you think it would have been taken much more seriously?
Can I tell you something, John?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to tell you some little inside baseball information. As you know, I used to work in media, and people shit on Nickelback, but I would say 98% of the people that shit on Nickelback all own one of their CDs. They are one of the most highest grossing rock bands of all time. They pull in mad amount of money on their CD album sales, CD sales, their digital downloads, and their concerts are always sold out. So as much as we all say Nickelback is crazy, Chad Kroger's crazy, they don't really care about your criticisms, because they are literally Scrooge McDucking into a giant vat of gold coins. So there we go, man.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just like maybe just us Canadians hated because it was a Canadian. I own that CD. I forgot what it was called. Is it called
the first Nickelback CD?
Yeah, whatever. It's got a car on the cover. It's all black, or it's like a black.
That's probably why you bought it, right? Because it had a car on the back. No, that was the second album, I feel.
I don't know. I know I own at least one of those CDs. And much like I'm a big Drake fan. Certified Lover Boy dropping I think this week.
All the Right Reasons, 2005.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like
that was their
Drake
second
gets a lot of hate just because he's Canadian. I don't know. Maybe it is. But anyways, welcome folks to the Nickelback podcast. We are big fans of Nickelback. We're going to be talking about Nickelback for the next hour. So thank you. Strap in. Let's go. Hit us with Hero, Rob.
I can go back to it if you want. I got the lyrics here, man, because they say, a hero could save us. I'm not going to stand here and wait. I'll hold on to the wings of the eagles. Watch as we all fly away, John.
Wings of the Eagles? I didn't know that was in the lyrics. That's funny.
Yeah. I'll hold on to the wings of the eagles and watch as we all fly away.
Okay. I think we got to move on from this joke now. So, welcome everybody to Sidekick Show. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We got a bunch of new stuff coming in at the store. I'm gonna leave it to Andre, and hopefully our shipment doesn't get screwed up this week, and we do get our stuff on time, so he can bring you what's new at Heroes World tomorrow. The new Avengers Dark Ages is coming out. Speaking of Dark Ages, is coming out this week. And a whole bunch of other fun stuff. And I think we'll just if you're following us on the Facebook or Instagram, you'll see a full list of our new release comics, trade paperback restocks, and all kinds of fun stuff on there. So Rob, did you get any news? Is there any news?
I do have some news for us.
I'm locked
John.
In this cell, so I don't know what's going on.
So in case you haven't heard, John, listen, I got some news here for you. There might be fans. I've lost interest in the Flash TV show. I'll still watch it, but just like Nickelback, there's got lots of fans of this show, and they were probably
let's not trash Nickelback too much. Come on, I don't want that guy.
Excited. No. I'm not trashing. I think I just went and defended them. They are exceptionally excited, the fans of Flash, to know that season 8 is going to kick off with a 5-part premiere, I guess you could say, called Armageddon. And this is not the typical crossover that the CW does. As you know, they took off last year's crossover. The last one they had was Crisis on Infinite Earths, where we saw the death of Oliver Queen, played by Stephen Amell, another Canadian. But this time it's called Armageddon. You're going to have Javicia Leslie as Batwoman. Brandon Routh is returning as the Atom. Cress Williams is returning as Black Lightning. Kyler Lee as Sentinel. She's from the Supergirl TV series. Kat McNamara is returning as Mia Queen / the new Green Arrow. Tom Cavanaugh and Neil McDonough are going to return as Reverse Flash and Damian Dark. And then Osric Chow is returning as Dr. Ryan Choi. We saw him in Crisis on Infinite Earths. So we have all of these CW heroes returning, but they are not doing a big crossover. Essentially, you're going to get one of these per episode. So it won't be your typical crossover, but they will have these other characters coming into the Flash world and trying to help save the world from Armageddon. This begs the question, where are your two big guns? Where are your Supergirl and Superman? Why are they not part of this? But we shall wait and see. Apparently some more characters will be coming once this debuts. I believe it is late October or early November is when Flash season 8, November 16th. There we go. November 16th at 8 p.m. is when Flash. And in Canada, we will get it on Thursday, the 18th on Netflix. Okay, next I'm going to talk about. I'm going to actually go off with a little bit of sad news. Ed Asner passed away yesterday. John, he was 91 now. If that name doesn't ring a bell for you, maybe you're not old enough to have watched the Mary Tyler Moore Show. However, I'm sure as hell positive you have watched Elf with Will Ferrell in the last 15 years, and he plays good old Jolly St. Nick. Unfortunately, he had passed away. But hey, man, 91.
I thought you said Alf for
Alf?
a second.
Yeah.
There, and I'm like, I don't remember Will
No.
Ferrell in Alf. But yes, go on. Yes.
Yes. No, he was an elf with Will Ferrell, and he played Santa Claus. 91 is a huge run for a guy who was working. I mean, he was the voice in Up. As well, he was tied into the Spider-Man universe. He was the voice of J. Jonah Jameson during the Spidey animated series back in the 90s. So a big bucket of win, as some would say, for Mr. Ed Asner, who worked right up until the very end. 91 years of age, and we salute him. I'm going to move on to The Rocketeer. John, did you watch this movie? Speaking of the 1990s, 1991, The Rocketeer with Billy Crudup, Jennifer Connelly, and Timothy Dalton, also a Bond actor. Did you ever watch The
Timothy
Rocketeer?
Dalton was in The Rocketeer?
He was.
I did,
yeah.
but I don't remember any of it other than maybe a silo and a farm of some kind.
Yeah, that's about right. Yep. Yeah. So they it was just actually announced today that that The Rocketeer is getting a reboot, and it is going to be appearing on Disney Plus. It's a whole new set of actors, and actually, I'm going to quickly bring up the names. Can I get it in time? Probably not. You will know the individual. It is David Oyelowo. Is the actor. He was in. He played the cop in the first. What's that movie we like, John? The lead child, Jack Reacher movies. He was the officer. He was also in Selena. No, was it? Is that the one I'm thinking of? And I think he played Martin Luther King Jr. At any rate, he is going to be producing alongside his wife and starring in the movie. And it is rumored that supposedly it takes place still back in the 1940s. I believe he will play, or somebody will be cast as a retired Tuskegee Airman who will pick up the mantle of the Rocketeer. So that is really kind of just being written. It's just freshly being produced. We won't be seeing it for another couple of years, but that is pretty cool news if you're a Rocketeer fan.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck to them.
Yeah, good luck.
Set in that time period, not super popular.
No.
That movie does have a cult following, however, and I feel like the character existed before the movie, right? It's like a comic or a radio.
Oh yeah.
Right?
That was like an old school. Yeah.
So hopefully it works out to them, because I know that there's a lot of people who love that. There was an action figure that came out a couple of years back from I think Diamond Select or something like that. People really liked it. So yeah, Rocketeer, let's do it.
Here we go. I'm going to jump to Spider-Man No Way Home. Obviously, we got the trailer. We're going to probably be talking about it for the next couple of months. However, some dude in the UK, I don't know if he owns a theater or he's an exhibitor or what, but apparently he has the lowdown on the runtime.
Internet crackpot.
Could be 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's what he's saying, the runtime. This will be the longest Spider-Man movie in the MCU, 2.5 hours. So you know what? That seems about right, given everything that they're going to be dumping into this movie. I'm more happier at being. Listen, if it was 2.5, 2:45, I'm fine. There's a lot going to be happening in this movie. I would hate for it to be shortchanged and be, just under 2 hours. I think you need that extra. You're going to need that runway to stick all those landings. So that's the rumor. We'll see what happens as we get closer. And lastly, John, I am going to talk about a special screening that took place a few days ago. Now, as you know, when directors are putting together their movies, the studios oftentimes will have these private screenings for audience members of a movie that sometimes is not finished. Sometimes if you're a very special effects heavy movie, it will say insert FX shot here or whatever. You'll see storyboards cut it. But the idea for these test screenings is to see how audiences react. Do they like certain things? Do they not like certain things? There's a whole bunch of metrics involved, and sometimes this informs directors to go back and make edits, adjustments, or reshoots. I bring this up because a huge screening just took place a few days ago, and that was for Matt Reeves' The Batman. It is
your guy.
Supposedly, it was a 3-hour cut, which is huge. But all of the buzz now. most people, when they go to things, they just sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, to not talk about it. However, some people have obviously decided to not adhere to that NDA, and some stuff has been leaking out about the movie. I'm just going to read a couple of things here that aren't going to be.
Some people going to get sued.
They're not going to be spoilery things. So, but people are saying that as a 3-hour cut was test screen at WB. The movie received extremely positive reviews from the audience. They're calling that Batman is a horror movie, very graphic, very dark, very scary. Paul Dano is bleeping crazy, so bleeping scary. I loved every second. Of course, he plays the Riddler in this. Apparently Rob Pattinson's Batman narrates the movie. The fight scenes were amazing. There's a lot of them, a lot involving Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman. Alfred has some pretty significant scenes, and there's a lot of blood teetering between thriller and horror. So this sounds like a whole new take on the Caped Crusader. I'm excited. I know, this is my, I'm down
this
for
is
this.
your thing. This is your thing, though, to hype a movie beyond imaginable.
This is my MO.
Expectations, and hopefully it delivers. I like the sound of I like the idea of narration for a Batman movie. I know narration is kind of like one of those things that's not really done in movies anymore. Yeah. So it's I think it's making a comeback. So
yeah,
I'm hype. I'll jump on the Rob hype train. And hopefully it'll be more Suicide Squad than Wonder Woman 84.
There you go. I will say, listen, when you get a lot of this feedback, I just picked out some things. I will say, if anybody has any questions with respect to whether or not the Batman voice, what it sounds like, again, it's not finished, but everybody said the way he chose to take his character is 100%, like they're saying it may be the best representation of Batman cinematically that we've seen. So I loved Ben Affleck's The Voice Modulator, but I maybe they're not doing that in this one. I have no idea, but whatever he's doing with his voice, people are loving. So I'm excited. It's a 3-hour cut. You know what?
He's like, I am bad.
So that's it. I'm excited for it. Obviously, we know that's not a surprise. Expect a new trailer, John, to drop in the next few weeks. DC Fandom is hitting in October. So I suspect we'll be getting a new trailer. The internet is already going mental comparing what is better, the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer or Batman trailer that we got last year. So there's a lot of conversation about that right now online. If you care to weigh in, you can go ahead, or you can let us know in the comments. But there's a lot of hype for this Batman movie. So we'll see what happens in 2022. But John, I turn it over to you because that, sir, is the end of the news.
All right. Thank you very much, Rob, for the crazy news that it was. So a lot of things to look forward to. Hop on the hype train, folks. Let's get hyped for Batman. I'm down. So we're here to talk about 2002 Spider-Man. Before we get to that, we're just going to talk a little bit about what we did on the weekend. So we did cover What If episode 3, entitled What If Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I don't remember what the rest of the damn What If was.
But it was what if Mightiest Heroes didn't exist or were taken out or killed,
we lost Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Yeah. So fun episode. Spoiler: me and Rob ranked it the lowest out of all 3 episodes. So find out why and tune into that episode. It's not long; it's maybe like 30 minutes. Rob, Stu, and myself, and then we did follow that up with a mixed bag of questions on a lazy Sunday. So we had a lot of fun. We had to come up with a lot of answers on the spot. So hopefully you guys enjoy that type of content. And now we are here in 2002 talking about Spider-Man's. So let's get to Spider-Man. So sorry, I don't have my dual monitor set up here, so I'm going to do some clicking back and forth.
Ooh.
I don't know if you're going to notice, but yeah, back in 2002, it released in May 3rd or April, May. So is that summer movie territory? That's before.
Yeah, it was
pre-summer, right? Yeah.
You need a hero, John.
Is that your ringtone? We're gonna get to the music. Yeah. Shout outs if you were a fan of this movie. You should definitely set your ringtone this week to Hero and get them some bumps on the streams. But movie cost $139 million, box office of $825 million. So relatively successful. So I did pull a couple other movies that were hot for this year, just so we can see the climate, because this is like we talked about Blade last week, and Spider-Man. I think is Spider-Man the next super, or one of the next super. Blade 2, I think, is around, came out around the same time as this movie, but Spider-Man is the first really big one. I think the first one that made this type of money. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah,
there's,
because
or
that
like
opening weekend
was X-Men before this or
it
after?
was X-Men. The first X-Men was before this, but the opening weekend of Spider-Man, if I remember correctly, it was $114 million in its opening weekend in North America. And I remember, and that was the first movie to crack 100 million on an opening weekend. And I remember it blowing me. My mind was absolutely blown away. I could not believe it made
Yeah, so
114.
so the first like kind of the sign of the superhero juggernaut movies,
Yeah.
I guess to follow. So of that year, I just pulled some random ones that kind of came to mind, and I already mentioned them at the beginning of the show. So Minority Report with Tom Cruise, Die Another Day, Pierce Brosnan, 007 movie. Is that his first one or a second one, or
No, it was his last one. That was his
that was his final
fourth
one?
or fifth. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. Black Hawk Down was a big deal, and Star Wars Episode 2, or Episode 2 is Attack of the Clones, right? Attack of the Clones is Episode 2, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff that came out, and then I don't know. I should have probably tracked what came out after that, like what the years after that looked like. But that was just to see the climate. So like not a lot of the big crazy action movies aside from maybe a Tom Cruise vehicle. And I guess your 007 has been in for years. Star Wars, I guess it just come back. Black Hawk Down. So two kind of like, I don't know, not really like popcorn action blockbusters, I guess you would call it, or popcorn movies. I don't know.
Well,
Would you call Black Hawk Down a popcorn movie?
no. Well, no, I wouldn't. It was based on a true story. I will say though, we also have to remember, John, and not to get too serious, but this movie was 9 months post 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of putting on a pause on some releases, and people weren't necessarily going to movie theaters for the first few months afterwards. In fact, the original teaser trailer for Spider-Man was a bank robbery, and the people were getting away in a helicopter, and Spider-Man strung the helicopter up in between the Twin Towers in a web. You can actually find that trailer still online. It was pulled for a number of years, and it was recently kind of put back on, maybe about 10 years ago or so. But that was pulled. That was the teaser that people were seeing in theaters. It was one of the first movies that were trailers were being shown online through their website. I mean, it was right. So we have to
back
remember
in the day. Whoever remembers QuickTime. And that was like our way of watching movies
trailers
before Apple was like exploded into its popularity now.
Yeah.
I remember downloading the quicktime.mov and watching it in high def and going, wow, we got trailers at home. But yeah, shout outs to, we were going to talk a little bit about like kind of like things behind the scenes of this movie, and the removal of the Twin Towers is one of them. I remember at the shop, we used to sell movie posters, and there was one Spider-Man movie poster where in his eye, in the reflection, you would see the two towers. So they recalled these posters and asked them to be destroyed and all that kind of stuff. So that poster became worth a significant amount. I think they were going at the time $200 to $300 for this poster, and it was really weird. And you'll kind of see it when you watch the movie. You kind of see the little bit of influence, because this movie I think was in production or 8 months before release or something when the events of 9/11 happened. So they were able to do that, remove that scene, and incorporate some other things. So it's interesting. Yeah. Oh man, someone shouted out Real Player. I don't know if anyone remembers Real Player.
Yes.
That was the other video format, and man, that shit took forever.
Yeah.
So let me see. So I guess we'll just go straight into it, Rob. So what were your overall thoughts on this movie? We'll kind of keep some of the specifics, because we are going to talk about cast, favorite scenes, and all that kind of stuff. But what are your overall thoughts of this movie? How does it hold up in 2021? Everybody in the comments, let us know if you liked it or didn't like it. Don't get too specific, because we are going to dive into scenes and cast and all that kind of stuff later.
Yeah, I won't go to this. For me, I mean, I've always held this movie in high regard, because we always wanted a good Spider-Man movie. I remember reading Starlog magazine and seeing like Canon Group were going to release a Spider-Man movie, and you would see it in Wizard magazine, and they were always casting for stuff, and there was a talk about James Cameron directing Spider. So when this thing finally came out, actually I was working in radio at the time, and I had a really low. I actually went to the premiere in Toronto. I had to put up these vinyl plastic tarps all along throughout the theater, and we had posters. Like it was like I was, you know, in the promotion stuff, doing all that, and the hype was intense for this movie to come out. I watched it, like I said, during the premiere. I think I took my now wife with me. We both enjoyed it. I've always held this movie in a high regard, but I will say that I feel like a little bit of that sheen has worn off since rewatching it. It still holds up into a certain aspect. There's still a lot of this. Part of it, I'm like, oh, I like this, but I feel like it suffers for me for the nostalgia bite. No pun intended. Like I feel that. I feel like I give it a pass because of the nostalgia and what it did to usher in future movies. Holding it up, if you were to compare it apples to apples to today's movies, it's very difficult. I'm not even talking about the special effects, but I think those are great still, seeing them swinging and all that stuff. I just think the story is a bit bananas, and the acting is wonky. But at the end of the day, gun to head, yes, it holds up, but it's definitely not as much fun as I've often remembered it. And before I quickly pass it to you, John, I actually was not going to rewatch this because I was like, I've seen this movie so many damn times. I don't need to rewatch it. But I did rewatch it last night, and I finished it off today because I was like, no, you know what? It's been a good number of years since I've seen it. I'm really glad I did because it just gave me a different perspective. So it's been a hot minute since I watched it, so I'm glad I rewatched it. So often. What about you?
Yeah, so overall, like I remember back in the day when this first opened, we were actually we did have the store, and they sent us like advanced screening passes. It was at some theater downtown or whatever. So shout outs to those guys who he follows it up later. Don't worry, he follows it up later and says you're really pretty. But but yeah, they sent us these advanced passes and all the hype was going on. This is when was at the comic time. This is when Ultimate Spider-Man was at its height. I think most of there were a significant amount of issues in. Like I want to say they were probably on issue like 50 or something like that. But it was like really hot. Ultimate Spider-Man was like the hottest thing on the planet. And then this movie comes out alongside of it, and Spider-Man just explodes. And I think it was. Upon the rewatch, I actually quite enjoyed it. Okay. A couple of people in the comments do mention that it is a little slow at times. I don't think it's any slower than if you go back and watch, we'll talk about it later, Superman 78, Batman 89, some of those old school movies that we did go in the Wayback Machine to watch during our 80s fest and our worst comic movies ever and stuff like that. I don't think it's any slower than I actually felt it moved a little bit faster. They were kind of they made a lot of shortcuts. So there's some parts in the plot where you're just kind of like, oh, how come it feels like they kind of cheated, I guess, relationships to be more tight than they were from what we saw on the screen. So I guess that's just movie magic. But I thought it was pretty funny. Like, Rob, did you notice like all the cuts and like the fadeaways and the screen wipes and all that stuff?
Yes.
That's pretty old school. And
yep.
I think this movie during this age, if you compare it to the other movies that came out, they weren't really doing that. So I don't know if they did it like purposefully to make it look older. But it's funny because there's one scene where the camera zooms into Tobey Maguire's mouth and then cuts to like another, and you're like, that's such a weird cut. It was funny.
Well, that's very much Sam Raimi though. And I agree with you that I think that they did make this. I think Sam Raimi wanted to make this look like a serialized pulp movie. Like, there are certain aspects of this when you're watching it, it feels out of place for even its own time. Like just the way that they did the shots and the angles on things. So I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, I did enjoy it. We're going to get more into it. Thank you everybody for getting in. It looks like a lot of people are talking about the cast already, but I want Rob just quickly, Sam Raimi as a director. I know you follow the directors and what kind of stuff they do. You already touched on it a little bit. How do you feel about him doing this movie? Was it a big deal that he was announced to be directing this movie?
Yeah, it was a big deal. And you know what? I guess I should have pulled up what he had done prior to this. Let me quickly do that because Sam Raimi, as people would know, was the director of The Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and then Army of Darkness, which was like The Evil Dead 3. movie that he had, and that was like using stop motion animation as well.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
I'm
sick
sorry.
though. I loved it when I was a kid.
Oh well, yeah, and what's his face? Bruce Campbell is hilarious. I'm trying to get his IMDb. Here it is. I just want to take a look to see what he had filmed right before he did Spider-Man, because I remember there are people being like, "Wait a minute, Darkman." That's right. He also
Darkman,
did.
yo, we should cover that.
Yes, I forgot he had done Darkman, but yeah. Oh, okay. So he had done. So the Evil Dead 2, Darkman, Army of Darkness. He did The Quick and the Dead, which is an often forgotten about Western movie, which is actually not that bad. It's okay with Sharon Stone. He did A Simple Plan.
It's a really good title, Quick and the Dead.
The Quick and the Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did A Simple Plan movie, which is actually probably I remember really, really enjoying that movie. For the Love of the Game, which I believe is is it a golf? No, it's the baseball game with Kevin Costner. It's one of his baseball trilogy games. He did The Gift and then Spider-Man. So yeah, so he did some interesting movies to land him the role of this. I think he may, when you look at his Evil Dead stuff and the Army of Darkness, it's very schlocky horror with a comedy aspect. He obviously showed he had a bit of a better range with Quick and the Dead and even with A Simple Plan, which was, honestly, if people haven't seen that, now it's been, it's going to be about 20 something years since I've seen that movie. But I really enjoyed with Billy Bob Thornton and Bill Paxton. So you should definitely check that out. But at any rate, yeah. So if people were kind of, you know what? It reminded me of when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman in '89. People were like, wait, the guy from like Mr. Mom is going to be Batman. And so people were kind of like, you're giving the reins of Spider-Man. Like the first time we're actually gonna have a right proper Spider-Man on the screen to the guy who just did Army of Darkness, like in Darkman. Like, what are we thinking? So people were a little bit, questioning Sony's intelligence at that time.
So they didn't necessarily have, the fans didn't necessarily had faith, but I think generally this movie was well received, and I guess everyone changed the tune, their tune or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the cast. So everybody start dropping who's your favorite cast member, who's your least favorite cast member. I figured we'd start talking about Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker first,
sure,
and then you can segue into this particular version of Spider-Man. So Rob, how did you like? Is Tobey Maguire the best Peter Parker?
No.
Or the best representation of traditional Peter Parker, maybe?
No, that's a good question because, well, I guess so. Sure. I mean, a traditional Peter Parker from back in like is he representative of what the original Steve Ditko, Stan Lee Peter Parker? Probably more so than Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland. So I would say if we're basing it on the Ditko Lee, I'd probably say, I guess, yes. And Tobey Maguire is probably the most sticks to it, adheres to the source material the most. But I'm going to quote our friend Stu. He's fine. He's all right.
He's fine. Really? I thought he was fantastic as his Peter Parker, with his goofy, with a camera, and he's like, can I take your picture for the school paper, and like all the little, the silly stuff, that he did, I thought was really good.
Did you like when he was known? Like, go Webs, and he was like doing this?
Go. I remember in the theater that was a big.
That one surprised me. I was like, Shazam! Like whoa! I was like, I'm in the theater thing, and he just pulled out a Shazam on this. That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you think that just in general that they looked? For some reason, I always thought, even when I watched it back then, I felt like they all looked a little old to be in. I guess they're supposed to be in high school. I don't know if that's just a product of the time of when they film movies with that. I'm like, so they're getting off a school bus, so they have to take a school bus to school every morning, and then they're here on a school trip, and then this teacher is their chaperone. I'm like, I feel like they all look older than that. So I don't know if that was like just out of place, and especially Flash Thompson. Shout out to
Joe Manganiello.
Yeah. Did he not look like he was like he had already graduated and maybe he was like on a couple victory laps or something like that? I don't know if you noticed that. I don't know if it was maybe just the styling of that time, maybe.
Yeah. Well, he was wearing like those baggy pants and the You know, he had like the spiky hair and stuff like that. He does look babyface for sure, comparative to what he is now. But I think, listen, all of this cast were well into their like mid to late 20s playing teenagers, all of them, right? So, you know.
Yeah, maybe he's just significantly. He was the biggest guy. Scott says he was like 6'6", 240. Yeah, he was like significantly bigger than everybody else. And it just looks really like bizarre when on the rewatch. I feel like that's one of the things that didn't kind of stand up as much. So what do you think is Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man?
It's tough, right? Because I've often said we were only, growing up, and what kids don't like, my kids don't understand now is that they have a plethora of these Marvel and DC movies all the goddamn time coming out, 2 a year, 3 a year, whatever. We never had that. So as the only Spider-Man that we had, we couldn't even conceive that we'd ever have any future Spider-Man, right? I was like, this guy's great. He's awesome. He's funny. He's witty. Comparing how his Spider-Man is now, though, to we've had 2 different Spider-Men since, I'd say he's probably the weakest in terms of the wittiness and of the 2 Spider-Men. Like,
it was more of a campy wittiness. He was like it was more of like he was paying tribute to the old that 70s cartoon or whatever. He was kind of like
I think you're right. And I feel that that's probably Raimi's decision.
He was like dad joke Spider-Man.
He was definitely not part of that new wave of Spider-Man that was a lot more, even in that you saw in the animated cartoon. He didn't have that wit and that quick wittedness that you would see in future iterations. So yeah, I agree with you. He's probably doing a lot more of a take on that on the 60s cartoon. Yeah.
The suit did look. The suit I think still looks pretty good by today's standards. I think you could have. Do you think they could reuse that suit in a movie now, or you think they got to update it?
No, I think having the webbing on the outside is just bananas to me. Like it's like
a 3D aspect of his suit.
Well, listen, there's a friend of mine that you know very well who is a huge statue collector, and he has he's got 2 life-size statues of and what they're each like textured, like life-size, right? And like the costume moves, and you can feel the gray rubber on the outside of the webbing. It's bizarre. Like, I guess they felt printing it directly onto the leotard or the costume just didn't look great, so they went with this 3D effect. But it is weird. It is weird now looking at it. Again, after what we've had, you're like, it's just so weird. It's so weird to look at, right?
I think I would have to see it, side by side with, like Scott mentions, the new suit is very mechanical and I don't know if it's nanite technology, I don't remember, but the eyes can like open and like move and all that kind of stuff. So I think if it, maybe you're right, if it was next to one of the modern suits, it would probably look pretty ridiculous. Let's move on to Harry Osborne. Is he the worst friend ever? He steals the girl. He takes like all of Peter Parker's moves, and then he takes his dad, he doesn't stick up for MJ at the dinner party, all that kind of stuff. He says all kinds of like whack stuff, like
it is Peter, James Franco.
You never made your move, Peter. So I'm like, you dick.
Well, hey, you snooze, you lose. So I decided, I know that you've been in love with her since grade 4, but I'm claiming territorial rights. Like, it's so bizarre, right? Like,
I feel like they didn't sell him as Peter's friend. He's kind of a dick. No. And even there's one moment, like the worst thing he says in the whole movie, I think, is when MJ survives the attack from Green Goblin, and he's like, "Oh, let me buy you something," and you're just like, "What a douche!"
That made me laugh, though.
It'll make you feel better, and you're like, "What?"
But it really shows that he has no ability, he has no understanding of relationships or friendships whatsoever. Like, he's very cold to everybody, because I don't think he understands how to have a proper relationship or a friendship, as evidenced by what he does to Peter, and using that exact example with MJ. Yeah. Let me get you breakfast. Well, let me just buy you something. It'll make you feel better. Like, I'm going to throw money at the problem, and that should make it better, because that's what's worked for me. That's what my parents have done to me. So I actually didn't mind that aspect, but I do agree with you. that's one aspect though of this movie I wish they had kind of fleshed out a little bit more, is that they made the relationship between Peter and Harry a lot more central to understand the fracture that's going to happen, right? Like, so yeah.
All right. So yeah, I think I would nominate him for like worst friend ever, just because of what he does in the movie. And I think even when Aunt May gets put in the hospital, he's not even there. It's like, come on, you should be there for your buddy for all this nonsense.
But I will say I prefer his Harry Osborn over Dean DeHaan's Harry Osborn in the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I don't even remember
with Andrew Garfield.
I don't even remember the character. Oh my god! I would say I'm gonna rewatch it, but I'm not gonna do that.
No.
Maybe I'll watch some scenes from it. Let's go on to I think the winner of this movie, like the thing that the person you want to watch the most in the movie. I don't know if anyone's gonna disagree, but William Dafoe.
Okay,
as,
good. Yes,
as your boy Green Goblin. How good. How good is he? He's so good. Like,
he's amazing.
I got a quick clip. This clip just cracks me up every time.
Harry tells me you're quite the science whiz. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself. Harry.
One of the greatest, like, and everyone takes that, turns into a meme. I'm something of a blah 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 myself.
No, honestly, I loved. Listen, I'm a big Willem Dafoe fan, and probably have been since I first saw him. I think it was in Platoon in '86. You know, I thought it was a great choice to have him play Norman Osborn / the Green Goblin. When he first battles Spider-Man in New York, and I know we got to talk about that, the comparisons to another specific movie, and we will. But when he battles the Spider-Man in New York with the balloons and everything else like that, and Spidey reaches up to the glider and pulls out a bunch of wires and
just miscellaneous stuff to make it stop working.
The glider goes away and he goes, I'll get you next time, Spider-Man. And it was just like, oh my God. Like, it was everything and him cackling as he's flying away. It was everything that you wanted to hear from the Green Goblin. To be honest with you, I actually prefer watching him on the screen over Spider-Man. He was just so captivating. Like, it was just so much fun watching. I think he loved to watch someone's
scenes. Yeah, if you can only watch someone's scenes from YouTube or whatever, you're 100% going to watch all the William Dafoe stuff.
Oh, totally.
Maybe you'll throw in some of the J. Jonah Jameson stuff, who we'll mention later when we talk about auxiliary cast. But yeah, William Dafoe, and I think at the time we didn't really appreciate it as much. We were too focused on the costume. We're like, what's with this weird Power Ranger plastic mask
helmet
thing? And I think now it actually doesn't look that bad. Like, upon the rewatch, I'm like, that actually looks pretty menacing. You can see his mouth talking to the thing, and his eyes are kind of coming through the visor, and when he's just going crazy on everybody. I like when he brings the
Scott's right. The scene in the mirror when he's talking to himself, the duality. Right. Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah, no, like this performance, this 100%, this particular portion of the movie, I think you could take out, and that could be in any of these modern movies we're doing this, and you could let him go even more nuts. So if they were kind of holding him back a little bit, they could let him go even more nuts with it. So
the rumored inclusion of him in No Way Home and then seeing that pumpkin bomb in the trailer has me really psyched, especially after rewatching. Although you and I might be in agreement, but our friend Fraser does not. He says Defoe's overacting was one of the things that turned me off of this film. So
well, the problem is it doesn't fit like the rest of the tone of the movie. Like, I can 100% see why Fraser has an issue with that. The tone of the movie, he is like out there. He's almost transported from another movie into this one, because when he interacts with people, even when Spider-Man is kind of joking with him back and forth, he's not really able to get to the level that Dafoe is on. So it doesn't feel connected. So they might have benefited from a toned down Green Goblin, but upon the rewatch, it is awesome. It is absolutely amazing. All right, so now we're going to talk about the real villain of this movie, and that is Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane. So I remember not liking her much on the original watch for some reason, and no disrespect, like, I think it's just a miscast, or maybe the material that they gave her. But for some reason, she just does not come off well in this movie. Even just, I think it's just the character in general. This version of Mary Jane, I don't know if I'm carrying like, comic baggage with me, that because Mary Jane feels like a very different character in the comic. I don't know. I think for some reason, just in this movie, what she did or what they got her to do just didn't work. So I don't know if you guys, what do you guys think of this particular MJ? Is she the worst MJ? Yeah, Scott shouts out from Bring It On. Yeah, I was rewatching it and I'm like, where did this girl come from? And my wife's like, she was in Bring It On. I'm like, no way, she wasn't in Bring It On. And then she's like, looks it up. It's like, yep, she was in Bring It On.
Well, yeah, but audiences would first remember her in Interview with a Vampire with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. She played the youngest, like right when she had that kissing scene with one of them, and she was only like 8 or 9 or something at the time. Yeah, I gotta say, upon rewatching this, I remember not really being a big fan of hers, but I was like, it's cool. It's MJ. In my brain, I think of the Romita MJ, or when we, even how she was drawn in the Spider-Man wedding album, and you see how she's drawn, and the Romita Jr. stuff, and then you see her on screen. You're right. There's a lot, for whatever reason, MJ is a difficult character to kind of get over that comic hump, so to speak, to accept an actress stepping into that role, because she's just so iconically drawn. But Kristen Dunstan, listen, I think she's a talented actress. I'm sure she's a really great person, but for me, just was not the MJ, was completely miscast. I don't know what Sam Raimi was thinking, but it definitely, I didn't buy anything that she was putting. I felt when she called him Tiger, it was forced. I felt the whole thing was forced. I think the only time that she was sold any aspect of this was when she was running out of the diner and was trying to lie to Peter about she had that the audition, and the boss comes out and he's like, you shortchanged the table again, and she yells at him, and I was like, that's Kirsten Dunst doing from another movie, and that's great. It's good for her. It doesn't fit in this movie. She's not Mary Jane Watson. So
I feel like they kind of tried to take elements like in the comic. Mary Jane is I don't know if you just want to call it, she's much more put together. She's much more confident and like, but this Mary Jane, they wrote her differently. She kind of like is I guess finding her way. So I guess you could chalk it up to that she was younger, but something just didn't fire for it. Some people mentioned that they did put her in some kind of skimpy outfits.
Well, yeah, everybody's going to obviously assume the rain scene with the upside down crying. I mean, you can tell that, yeah.
yeah. But she did get to kick some ass in that. When they're starting to drag her into the alley, she kind of like, she puts up a decent fight, and then Spider-Man has to save the day. Yeah. So yeah, I think the idea, yeah, Scott's exactly right. I think the idea is the house next door, she's living in this kind of like broken abusive relationship and things
with her
like
father.
that. So
yeah.
They're like yelling, and Peter Parker's such a good guy. He's like taking out the trash. He's like, I'm just taking out the trash. I heard some of it or something like that. Like he's actually really funny. That's why I kind of like him as a Peter Parker.
But you know what though, John? It's okay to be different. Like look at what Zendaya is doing with MJ, right?
Yeah, I think she's amazing.
Completely different
version
take
of MJ is awesome. Yeah,
than what we've seen in the comics, and yet I'm way more acceptable and believable of her version of MJ than I was with Kirsten Dunst. So
yeah. Do we want to mention anyone else in the cast before we start moving on?
You did mention J. Jonah Jameson.
JJ.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he was so iconic. He came back. He's back in the MCU, right? How do you with J.K. Simmons? How do you go wrong with him in this, right? Again. And I don't know
it's
if
so
you noticed,
funny with the photos like crap, double crap.
Yeah,
like I'll give you like $10. Yeah. He's like, oh, okay, come back here.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but Elizabeth Banks was Betty Brant, and so it's funny you mentioned the Power Rangers outfit, because I think she borrowed the leftover parts of this Green Goblin costume to be Rita Repulsa in the Power Rangers movie from a few years ago. So, but yeah, Elizabeth Banks was Betty Brant.
Yeah. What I think it's Scott shouting out Ben and Aunt May. I think the actor that played Ben maybe has passed, but
Cliff Robertson. Yeah, he passed a few years ago.
I think she's still working. I think
Rosemary Harris. I don't know if she is or not. I don't know. I will.
But she was a great Aunt May.
Yeah, she was okay. She was an Aunt May that was very typical of what you would see in the comics, the old very old looking Aunt May who was like in her 80s. Definitely not the Marissa Tomei Aunt May that we have now. That's for sure. Definitely not the Sally. Was it Sally? Whatever her name was in the Andrew Garfield movies.
I don't remember those movies at all, other than he fights a lizard.
Yeah,
and Dennis Leary's in it. I think I don't remember. If
yeah,
that's the
he
second
is.
one or
But
the first
then
one,
Martin Sheen is Uncle Ben, and to be honest with you, I actually prefer his Uncle Ben to
yes,
to
but
this
but
Cliff
his
Robertson.
but Martin
Sally
Sheen's
Field,
Uncle
thanks,
Ben.
Lewis.
Yeah, but his Uncle Ben gives the really convoluted version of the speech. In this movie, you get with great power comes great responsibility, and
Yes.
then in the Andrew Garfield one, they twist it around so it
Yeah.
sounds like it's not the same words, and you're like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? That's like Spider-Man's thing. That's like he could have that written on the back of his suit. It could be great power comes great responsibility written on the back of his spider suit, and it would fit the character. But it was really funny and a very odd choice. We'll have to maybe react to those clips played back to back, or something along those lines. But oh man, okay, so that's most of the cast. I don't know if there's anyone else really of significance. I do remember JJ does drop an Eddie reference, so I don't know if they were playing.
Yes, an Eddie Brock reference.
I don't remember Spider-Man 3 at all, but yeah, he's like, go get Eddie to take the pictures or something like that. That was kind of funny, just randomly in there. So let's start jumping to our best action scene then, I guess. Do you want to do best action scenes, or is there any other things we should talk about before that? I don't think so. Right?
No. Well, I don't know. I do want to bring up what I think that this movie really reminded me of another movie. I don't know if we want to talk about it now or not, but
let's talk about our favorite action scenes, and then we'll just drop any others. So anyone who's got your favorite scenes and stuff like that, start mentioning them now. I made a quick list of the main action scenes, Rob.
Yeah,
you can let me know if I've missed anything. So action scene number 1 is the wrestling. The whole wrestling sequence with Randy Macho Man Savage
as
Bonesaw.
Yeah,
great scene. It's got Bruce Campbell in it.
But talk about taking a long time. That was like a 12-minute freaking scene, man. It was forever.
It's a significant chunk of the movie. That's why I included it in here. And then the next scene I would say is the parade where he saves Mary Jane and has his first fight with Green Goblin. And then after that is when the building is burning down. And he saves the
old lady.
The lady who leaves her baby in the burning house. Like, who's watching this baby? What's going on? And then after that, I think is just the whole conclusion of the movie. I don't know if there's any other scenes. Like, do you include the alleyway fight scene in there?
You could, because I mean, he was shaded. It was very reminiscent. I think that the Andrew Garfield movie, the first one, kind of took from that scene where he's unmasked and he's fighting, in the Garfield movie, he's fighting the cops and he's got them, the shadows are dancing over his face. You can't really see his face. It's the same as this one with the in the alleyway and whatnot. You could add that in there. Listen, if I had to pick, I would probably have to go with, I guess I'd have to go with the parade. Mm-hmm. But that being said, my favorite shot of the action scenes was when the pumpkin bomb explodes in Peter's face. That shot is actually my favorite, and that's why I would actually pick the ending as my favorite fight scene, but I'm going to pick the other one. But that one shot is phenomenal. Like, seeing his face just get rippling and as everything explodes. I love that.
That's during the
shot.
Final scene. He gets cut. Yeah, he gets cut during the burning building scene, but then the thing blows up and a very Spider-Man thing where half his mask is blown up, or torn away, and he's still going. He's still going with partial mask. Yeah, and that scene was funny where he's like he does it looks like almost like a stage play. Like, the entire set is definitely built in a warehouse, and he pulls it down on top of him and stuff. I actually quite like in the scene that I'll rewatch. I don't know if it's just because of Macho Man though, that wrestling scene in the opening. Was just so funny, and it's like, oh, you're the featherweight, and he's like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm going in, and then the cage drops, and you're like, what the hell? He fought a whole bunch of other guys, and then the guy gets
and that was a cage match.
I can't feel my legs, and then and then he's fighting
the human spider. That
Yeah, yeah,
sucks.
yeah. But shout out to Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
And then I think
The
Macho
chin.
Man breaks out like it's clearly looks like he's gonna win this fight, and then all Spider-Man's doing is dodging, and then he grabs a chair. And
Yeah.
then the next thing that they hand to him is like a metal like crowbar. I'm like,
It's
what
a
are they gonna do?
crowbar.
Like,
Yeah.
like gonna murder this kid?
Yeah. I know. What do you think though was more criminal? Him potentially using the crowbar to murder Peter Parker or that really long mullet? Because there was absolutely no need for his mullet hair to be that long down his back. That was like encroaching on Crystal Gale territory. And for those who are wondering who the hell Crystal Gale was, you're gonna have to look it up. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a horrible. His hairstyle was atrocious. Also, Macho Man at the height of his steroid injection and usage.
Oh, he looked huge. I don't think he ever looked that big when he was actually wrestling.
Well,
He
not
was
when he was
huge.
in WWF or E now, but at the time, no, he was never that big. He was popping pills.
Yeah. All right. So those and when you think about it, actually not that many overall action in this
No, it's
movie. It
not.
wasn't we didn't have a montage of him
Mhm.
saving a whole bunch of people and stuff like that, which we got later in the Tom Holland stuff. So do we have any other favorite scenes? Like, so some people have mentioned other comedy scenes. So Fraser shouts out when Peter's selling the pictures to JJ. That was a great scene. Maybe the scene where he's late for dinner and William Dafoe's like looking around and puts two and two together and figures out he's Spider-Man. I don't know if you have another favorite scene in there, Rob, that we
No, but
talked about.
that scene did bother me. Like that's a huge amount of droplet of blood, right? Like, you know,
It was ketchup. It looked like a big thing of ketchup. It was
Yeah.
like
Like,
so you can do all this
come
other
on.
CG. And this blood drop you couldn't just actually
Yeah.
take a fake
it's
blood
small,
prop.
and then you have like a big mass. It looked like the size of like a giant silver coin on the floor. I was like, give me a break, man. Any other favorite scene? You know, I did like the bridge scene. I will say like the bridge scene of him having to make the decision between saving MJ or the kids. Again, we just saw that, John, a few years earlier in Batman Forever, right? With Val Kilmer, where he had to make a decision. Do I save Robin or do I save Dr. Chase Meridian? It's like there's a lot from this movie that takes from other movies that we had seen in a few years prior.
Yeah. It's kind of like I'm trying to think of what other scene so let's go back to JJ. There's a scene where he I think he names Green Goblin. He's like, get Green Goblin trademarked, and the other guy's like, how about green meanie? And the guy's like, get out of my room. And then he's smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
And I think what does he say? He's like,
throws it.
You don't trust anybody. Yeah, he's like, I trust my barber. And he chucks the cigar out the window like it's nothing.
And then it comes flying back.
Yeah, and then Green Goblin busts through the window. And it's actually pretty cool that his character, because Green Goblin's like, where do you get the pictures? And J. Jonah Jameson actually does not snitch. He's like, I don't know. They come in the mail. I'm like, that's kind of cool to add on to J. Jonah Jameson's character that he wasn't gonna just sell out his photographer. But
now
that scene had me cracking up. I had to go back and rewatch it. I'm like, did he just chuck that cigar out the window?
Now that
he's like, call a lawyer or something like that.
Yeah. That was Sam Raimi's brother, though. The guy who, the guy who says, "What about Green Meanie?"
He doesn't call him, and then he comes in and he's like, Harold, and he's like, yeah, and then he sticks it, and he's like, like, I wonder if that was improv or that was like, how do you write that in the script? You're like, he calls this guy, but he thinks he's calling on the phone, but he answers in person. This is the gag. I'm like, did they actually write that, or did someone like just come up with that on the spot?
Makes you think it might have been improvised or the day of, right? Yeah. So.
Scott's world is crashing. He just found out Miss Elizabeth died from a. Sorry, Scott. I was unaware too. I just noticed she stopped showing up when I was a kid, and I was like, "What happened to this character?" Anyone wondering what's going on? Macho Man Randy Savage used to have a female counterpart always with him, Miss Elizabeth. But yeah, rest in peace to her. So
wow. All right, we can go down that road, but yeah.
All right. Anything? Let's talk about stuff that was dated or kind of odd. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the organic web shooters, which were a big deal at the time that this movie came out. Do
Yeah.
they still bother you, or are you just kind of like, meh?
No. So I remember, again, kids were going to, we go back to the Wayback Time Machine, and when the internets were still kind of really freshly new, and I went to the IGN boards, right? And from January 5th of 2001, because I guess the word had gotten out that they were going to be organic shooters. And this guy was like, I would just like to express my extreme disgust and disappointment in Sam Raimi's decision to make Spider-Man's web shooters organic, right? And he's going on about one of the most defining characteristics of Spider-Man is that he is one of us, and he makes and creates his own web shooters. Please don't be untrue to everyone's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Don't be Hollywood this time and ruin what you've done. This time, be the fan you say you are and give him back his hallowed mechanical shooters. And then somebody had said, hey, for everybody who's voicing your opinion, head over to www.noorganic-webshooters.com. But the petition is closed, but they're trying to deliver signatures of over 5,000 signatures, John, to Sony. But I did take a look. That website's no longer in existence.
No way, get out of here.
Yeah, people were really pissed off about the organic web shooters. I remember when I read it, I was like, that is really bizarre, but I accepted it. It made sense. The only thing I did question, like in the costume, there was never an opening. Like there was nothing that was like
it would have to be a significantly sized opening to make sure it clears every time, or he would have to insert some type of hose.
Like, right. Because I was like, when you see the scar on where it is, I'm thinking, does that mean it flips open, like this flap of skin opens up to release? Like that would concern me. Like he doesn't have any sense of concern over any of this happening. But if I think that one of my appendages all of a sudden has a flap of skin that is opening every time I do this, and shit is flying out of it, that would really
do these
upset
webs
me.
come from?
Yeah, like what else is happening to my body? It seems really bananas.
It's odd that they went with that choice as to not explain, I guess, to ease up, I guess, the explanation of why he had it, instead of just going, he developed these web shooters. And then they also, when he gets the costume, he just has the costume. They don't show how he makes the costume.
No, they show him, he drew it.
He goes from a
God,
sketch.
he's a great artist.
Yeah. but there's no way he would have had the elements to manufacture this costume.
No.
But I don't know. Did anything else stick out to you? One thing that stuck out to me was like the very stalker tendencies that a lot of our superheroes have. He's like watching MJ from the window of his house, and like he's like in the washroom and MJ's over there. It's kind of funny, and there's like one moment where he's like kind of shirtless and like looking out the window at her and stuff like that. And you're like, do you later, when you get married or whatever, do you start telling your wife all these things? Oh, it's like, I used to look over into your window every day when I got up to brush my teeth, and then when I became a superhero, I used to follow you around and make sure you were safe. Isn't that love?
Isn't that love? But you're right though. There are a myriad of examples of these heroes, these comic book heroes, that are doing really creepy shit. I mean, every Spider-Man movie, they're always following somebody. Superman.
My favorite show, Smallville. He would watch Lana Lang through a telescope in his barn, and you're like, dude.
What about Superman Returns with Brandon Routh, right? When he's hovering over their lake house and he's just watching them. I'm like, what is happening? Why are all these people just like obsessed with these females that are just like, it's, you've crossed the line into just crazy pervert territory, right? So yeah, I agree. But yeah, anyways, the organic web shooters were a huge thing. It was, I remember the message boards were rife with fanboys really pissed off and irritated, and it was the debate. It was the debate of the day. And once the movie came out and people saw it, nobody gave a shit anymore. But leading up to it, holy moly, it was crazy. People were pissed.
Yeah. What about the music? We talked a little bit about Hero at the top of the show. Do you think if they had put the Nickelback song in here instead of Macy Gray, that this would look less dated?
Yeah. So it's really funny because like this was the song that was used to promote this movie. And it actually doesn't make an appearance until about 5 minutes into the end credits. They go with the orchestral music, and then all of a sudden this song kicks in after they've gone through the main cast and stuff like that. And it doesn't make any sense as to why you wouldn't have this song. Like, why did they not use snippets of this song in a montage throughout the movie? Like, it never made sense to me. We remember, again, going to Batman Forever with Seal and Kiss from a Rose, right? I mean, that song, even
Great
though that
track.
song, it's an amazing track, but it was actually released on his second studio album way before that movie came out. Joel Schumacher liked it. The song never tracked well on the billboards. Joel Schumacher liked it, asked, hey, can I put it in the movie? Sure. They shot the video, and that song became #1 because of the video and the movie tie-in. Same with Hero by Chad Kroeger and Josie Scott. Became #1. It sold. That video was playing everywhere. People couldn't get enough of Spider-Man clips and this song, and yet it's never utilized in the movie. It makes no sense to me. I never understood that. But yes, Macy Gray, like what was like, I didn't understand. Like, when has Macy Gray ever been uttered in anybody's lips?
Yeah,
in the last
just
number of
unfortunate
years?
that this artist did not kind of
Right.
She might still be making music now, but it's certainly not on the charts that we're aware of. So
No.
no disrespect to her or whatever. But whenever you put a musical artist like that into your movie, it's gonna show the age.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah. Do we have anything else to talk about in regards to wrapping up the movie? I had one hot take question for you, Rob. I don't know if you want to field it or not.
Yeah, I'll field it.
The Superman, yeah. So my
What
hot take
you
was
got?
like,
What you got?
yeah. So my hot take was that this movie could replace, like, this is a hot take. This is not necessarily my opinion, but it could replace your first superhero movie. So like Rob raves about Superman 78, how it's a template for all superhero movies going forward. Could this Spider-Man, since it's a little more modern, 2002, maybe not as dated as some of those movies, could it replace it? What does Superman 78 have that this movie doesn't quite have? I know one of the answers is probably definitely one, and one of the answers is definitely Reeves and Margot Kidder. The chemistry between those two definitely trumps Toby's and Kristen Dunst's chemistry. So I just thought I'd throw that out at you. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, you know what? Like, I gave it a lot of thought. Yes, Superman, I feel is dated in the sense of the cars, the vernacular, the outfits and whatnot, but it's timeless enough that when you're watching it, you don't feel caught in a time loop, right? And you can still relate to the things that are happening. You can still relate to the characters. You look at Ma Kent and how she interacted and how she was, even in the short scenes that she had before he goes off to find him, Clark goes off to find himself in the North, right? And then you compare that to how Aunt May is. Two different characters, two different takes on things. We know the origin story of Superman even before that movie came out, but the movie made it a very clear point. We're going to touch on it. We're going to tell the story of this person. We know the origin story of Spider-Man. We knew it before the movie came out, and yet it really glossed over a lot. There was no, like, the main bad guy in Superman obviously was Lex Luthor, but you got a lot of backstory and history. You don't get a lot with this. Like, you don't understand the conflict necessarily between everything between Spider-Man and Green Goblin. Spider-Man refers to him like, "Oh, Gobby, what have you done?" Like, it's
not there. They kind of cheated the
there's no history there to be able to deserve that type of a
even William Dafoe's like, you were like a son to me. I'm like, when did that happen? When was this when was this a thing?
Yeah, so I felt like there's, in Superman, obviously he grows up as a teenager. You see that within the first 15 to 20 minutes, maybe, right? Including the destruction of Krypton. So maybe the first 20, 25 minutes, you see him and he goes off to, find himself in the Fortress of Solitude. And then it's a progression of him landing in Metropolis and then growing into the role of Clark Kent and Superman. But it all kind of takes place within within a few months or whatever, or a couple of months. Whereas Spider-Man, it feels like it takes place over the course of like 3 years practically. Like, they're just flying through things, and you're like, what is happening? Like they're in high school now, they've graduated, now they're in college, university. MJ, they haven't seen each other in months, and she's going off on audition. Like there's all these things happening, and we are left to, I guess, as you say, when Harry Osborne says Norman Osborn says you were like a son to me, it was never discussed. There's no moments between Peter and Norman getting to know each other and building that relationship. There's nothing. It's all thrown in there, and it feels very undeserved.
So they had too many ingredients, I guess, to make this film, and 78 is a much more measured, well put together overall film. And I think I see exactly what I just kind of put this question together for jokes, but
no, I know.
I see exactly what you're saying. While 78, I guess it would be a slower pace for today's youth or someone trying to look for a casual watch to get through. I think you're right. I think it overall will hold up better as a single piece, whereas this one you might need Spider-Man 1 and 2 to go together to form something strong enough to kind of stand up to the 78's kind of like feel. So I don't know if 2 is better. Like a lot of people rave that 2 is the better, one of the best Spider-Man movies. So I don't know if we're gonna
one of the best comic book movies is what people say, right? The one thing I did want to bring up though, John, is, and I texted you this yesterday, I'm watching this movie and I'm watching the opening credits, and I'm like, why am I getting a Batman 89 vibe out of this movie? Why opening credits so operatic? And now you're not going through a giant spider symbol and this and that like you did with Batman 89, but the music. And I realized the musical score was by Danny Elfman, who did Batman 89. And there's a lot in this movie that cribs from the Batman 89. When Vicky Vale is falling and Batman dives after her and he shoots the bat gun, the batarang, and it goes up, the grappling hook rather, and they bounce and they're swaying. It's the very same thing that we saw when MJ's falling in the building of New York, and Spider-Man dives and he grabs her and he shoots his webs up and he holds her and they get down, then they swing off. The giant balloons at the parade is exactly taken from the Batman 89 stuff.
Green Goblin just needed a really long gun.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, here I would if I had the passage of time, if I had time available to me, then I would do this. But the screaming, every time MJ screamed, it sounded exactly like Kim Basinger screaming when she was falling at the end of the movie. It's the same tone and pitch of scream. Now, I'm not saying that Kirsten Dunst did it.
Did you play them back to back, or do you have Kim Basinger's scream memorized?
No, but you know what I think? I don't think either. I know that in Hollywood they hire scream queens, legit. And even though I know it's based on a TV show,
and they splice it in,
and all they do is yes, exactly. And so I think that they used a lot of of those special sound effects in this movie. There's a lot in this movie that literally takes from Batman 89. And it was just so glaring to me. I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. So I just wanted to mention, if people, you want to go back, listen to the opening credits of Batman 89 and then rewatch the opening credits of this. And the music, there are moments where it's almost note for note that Danny Elfman has copied himself on the score.
Yeah.
So.
Also shout outs to the long credit intro sequence.
I wish. Yeah. Cool World 2 over here.
Yeah, cool. Wait, man, how many times are we going to mention Cool World in this week's barrage of podcasts? It's crazy. But yeah, shout outs to the long intro scene. I don't think we get that in movies anymore. They usually kind of keep it nice and tight, or they have other things going on while the credits roll. This literally just forced you to watch a whole bunch of credits before the movie got rolling. So that's funny. Shout outs. A couple of the guys mentioned it before, Rob. I don't know if you remember the genetically spliced spiders. I thought it was hilarious. They're just sitting out there on the floor of whatever that demonstration was, and the kids were walking around. I'm like, these are like these genetically altered spiders that you guys are going to use for whatever, and you're just going to leave them out there. One's missing. I guess it's out for I guess it's taking a bath. When you do with spiders, you take them for baths or something. Like,
I will say though, the really guy who plays the teacher, I don't know if that guy was a real teacher, but he was speaking. He probably had the most authentic on-screen teacher role ever when he's like, You two were speaking during that woman's entire presentation. I tell you what, we're gonna have a discussion later on proper manners and stuff. I was like, that's what a real teacher would do, man.
And he's like, if you say anything else,
Yeah.
you will fail this class. I kid you
Yeah.
not. Like this amazing whisper tone. Maybe it's one of the guys' teachers, and they're like, "Hey, can you come in and do that speech?"
Yeah, because he
on
was
camera?
terrifying. Yeah, I'm married to a teacher, and I can tell you, I heard that tone, man.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Lewis is shouting a cool world rewatch. Lewis, you can do the recon
Yeah.
for us and let us know.
Yeah, you.
I didn't even know Brad Pitt was in that movie, but
Yeah.
but thanks. And if anyone's got any closing thoughts on Spider-Man, get them in now. I think we're just gonna wrap this up. So overall, Rob, you're happy to rewatch Spider-Man in 2021, 20 years, almost 20 years after it came out.
Yeah,
man.
dude, 19 years. And the fact that we're getting Tobey Maguire reprising his role, I am excited to see what he does.
More
with
importantly,
it.
William Dafoe. I'm really
exactly.
Really looking forward to seeing him on screen.
He looks like a man who doesn't age very much. Like, and we watched John Wick, all of us collectively as part of the Sidekick Show. What was it? 6 months ago, John? We watched John Wick, and he's in the first John Wick movie, and then seeing like he doesn't look like he ages. Like he's got very defined wrinkle lines in his face. He doesn't look
aged
like
to a certain point, and then he
stopped. Yeah. 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 So no, overall, I'm happy I saw it. It doesn't have the same sheen as I remember it having. But that being said, it's still good to watch. Like I think it's good to know where you come from to see where you're going to be going. And I think we don't get the Garfield Spider-Mans, even though people don't like those movies. I think his portrayal of Peter and Spider-Man was actually quite cool. We don't get Tom Holland if we don't get what happened here. We don't get the MCU if we don't get 114 million opening weekend and 800 and something million worldwide with Spider-Man 1. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, what is your favorite of the three? I don't remember the Andrew Garfield one at all. I didn't mind some of his parts, but I definitely think the Tom Holland one is the stuff that I've watched the most.
Yeah, I actually just rewatched the two Andrew Garfield ones a couple of weeks ago. The fight scenes, the swinging scenes are really well done. Like especially in Spider-Man 2, which people really hate. But the swinging fight scene with him versus Electro, it looks like a comic book, looks like a video game come to life. Like it just is so wicked looking. It looks great. I thought his Spider-Man was way better than Tobey Maguire's in terms of the witty banter and the way he moved.
Yeah.
Again, it's the absence of time. Tobey Maguire was limited in what they could do, right? We also have to acknowledge that. It's 2000 and they filmed this in 2000, right? In 2001, they're limited in what they're able to do comparative to now, right? So
I suspected probably wasn't even him in the suit most of the time. I would have to go and watch some special features or whatever.
Yeah,
but that was probably a time where they weren't letting their principal or main actor also do like dangerous stuff, and also weren't making him wear the mask and be on set all the time. They were probably like saving him. So now we've gotten to that era where your actor or actress is also an action star and has to kind of live like walk the walk almost. Right? Yeah. So would you ever watch anyone in the comments too? Would you ever rewatch Spider-Man 3? And who else owns a copy? Because I think it came with your PlayStation 2 or something at one point.
Oh, did it? Yeah. No, I have it physical and digital. I've got it. I haven't seen it in a really long time though.
I think I watched it maybe once.
Really upsets me.
Yeah, I remember the scene where Harry Osborne is chasing Spider-Man on the hoverboard or whatever.
Yeah,
I remember that being a very, very cool action scene that they gave away and kind of faked people out with. But yeah, I don't know. Someone go and do the recon for us and see if it's worth watching. But thank you everybody for joining us again on your Monday night. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We had a lot of fun. So tune in next Monday. We're not sure what we're going to do, Rob. We're probably going to have to discuss unless you want to watch Dolph Lundgren's Punisher, which would be a hilarious rewatch. But
are we taking next week off because of Labor Day or no?
Oh wait, yeah, we might not be here. Yeah, Labor Day. Everyone might be busy, so we might be taking next week off, and then we'll be back after that.
The 13th.
So this week, tomorrow we should have What's New at Heroes World with Andre, as long as our shipments show up on time. Wednesday, I don't know if he's got another comic creator lined up. Thursday we'll be here with Hey, What Did I Miss? Random shenanigans on that show. A lot of hilarious things happened last week, so we'll see if we can reproduce that for you guys this week. Friday, the book club wrap. So if you haven't watched Andre's Star Wars Heir to the Empire with special guest Scott in the chat right now, Scott Graziano. I hope I didn't butcher your last name. I probably did. I'm sorry, Scott. Megan,
You should call him
and
Scott
Jesse,
and not like Dave
I don't know
or
if,
Matt or somebody else.
I don't know if Jesse's in the comments anymore. But yeah, this is a good suggestion. Gordon actually starts talking about Halloween movies. I was trying to see if I could fit in Candyman this week because I know Sarah really wanted to watch it, but I couldn't get to it. So maybe we should do some your favorite let's start brainstorming. Okay, everybody start brainstorming your favorite Halloween themed movies, and maybe we'll at least sneak one of those in before October. I think that's a wrap. Heroes World Podcast will air on Sunday. We'll be talking about What If, and I don't know what else. We'll see. It's a crazy weekend, so everyone have a good weekend. Yeah.
And so people who are going to be looking for a Shang-Chi review, we're holding it off for a week. I think most of us are seeing it this weekend, so it will not be here on Sunday, the review. We'll probably have it the weekend of probably Sunday the 12th is what we'll do. So if you're looking for a Shang-Chi review, John, if I'm right, we're probably going to be doing on the 12th of Sunday.
I think this weekend's going to be
allow people.
Kiddies are back to school. Some people might not be comfortable going to the theater, so we're gonna give it some time. But we are looking forward to seeing Shang-Chi this weekend, and some of you guys, I will see you there. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's it, right?
That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. We're out. All right.
It was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Rob. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, the stupid mirror things. How long have we been doing this in this mirror thing?
I don't know.
I think because we go back and forth. Like, I don't know what is it? Is this the Cabbage Patch or is this the?
No, I don't know. But it's in Spider-Man 3, right?
This is called a move. This is a move. I think it's called the Cabbage Patch.
Is it like punching? Isn't it the Rocky montage?
Anyways, the speed bag. We're gonna call it the speed bag. But yeah, look at some people already shutting out Beetlejuice, Sleepy Hollow. What else? Baron Zemo? What's Baron Zemo? Oh, that's the Baron Zemo.
Oh, the Baron Zemo dance, right? Yeah, that was a fist bump.
I don't know. Okay, yeah. Let's brainstorm. Hit me or Rob up with your favorite Halloween movies, and we're gonna try and fit at least one of those in before Halloween. Yeah, let's do it. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one.
Take care.